Well, let's bring in Kevin Callahan, longtime coach of the Monmouth football team, has 135 career wins with the program, and Coach Callahan is nice enough to join us now on the Michael Kay Show on ESPN New York. Kevin, it's Michael, Don, and Peter. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. How about you?
We're doing outstanding. How are you doing on Sunday watching your player have that sort of game in the AFC title game?
I'll tell you what, I was doing awesome. You know, you're watching the game, and he makes his first catch, and you're happy for him. Then he has another one. Then he has a touchdown. Then he has a second touchdown. And it's not long before you look at it and say, he's having himself a career game right here. And to see the way he finished off, first of all, I'm very happy for him just because of the type of person he is, type of guy he is. He's certainly very deserving. But just to play that way and perform to that level on such a big stage, I'm really excited and happy for Chris.
Did you see that kind of potential at all, Coach, when you had him?
I did, and I can tell you why. It's not that I'm saying, he's going to go and have a tremendous performance to put his NFL team in the Super Bowl, but from the first time he walked on our field, and from the first practice he was at during the preseason period, there was something different about him. Yeah, he's an athlete that has an edge to him. He's got tremendous skills, hand-eye coordination, and he's highly motivated. He's highly driven, and all you had to do was see him run around the field, and you knew something's different here. And we had a guy a few years before him by the name of Miles Austin who had that same look about him when he ran around our practice field. And something told you, like, hey, there's something special here.
This is Kevin Callahan, the coach of Monmouth football. Coach, I'm wondering, take me through how the kid gets to Monmouth. So 3 years playing lacrosse at Penn State, graduates early, wants to play football. Did you know about him? Did he play junior high? Had you a high school football where you had a thought about recruiting him? How does he come to you?
Well, it's a great story, and I think there's partially lucky, but we knew who he was as a high school football player. He was very talented as a junior, but in his junior year, maybe even his sophomore year, he committed to play lacrosse at Penn State. So he continues to play football. He's playing both sports and actually has a very, very good senior football season. But at the end of that season, in November, is when he signed his national letter of intent to go to Penn State for lacrosse. So he's off the board. No one's recruiting Chris Hogan because he's going to Penn State. He goes there. He finishes his lacrosse career. He graduates from Penn State. And through a couple of guys on our team who were very close friends of Chris, as a matter of fact, one of them was a high school rival. Chris's team at Ramapo beat Kenny Amsel's game in the state championship game. Kenny played for Demarest. And so through Kenny and Jack Daniels and a couple other guys, he came to us and said, hey, there's this guy, Chris Hogan, who wants to come to Monmouth and play football. I said, I know who Chris Hogan is. So one thing leads to another. He comes down here, he visits. We talk about the possibility of him joining the team, knowing it was only going to be for 1 year. Chris applies, enrolls in graduate school, and he becomes a member of our football team. And from there, he did great things here.
Now, that year of eligibility became available because of an ankle injury he suffered, right?
I believe so, yes. I knew, well, you have 5 years to play 4 competitive seasons in one sport, but you can use that 5th year to play a competitive season in another sport as well. So there was an ankle injury there. I know there was something that he took care of when he was here. I don't know if he, to be honest with you, played 3 or 4 years at Penn State in lacrosse.
Did you ever ask him how come he didn't try to play football at Penn State?
Well, the one thing he told me was that, when he was playing lacrosse there, the love of the game of football never left him. And he would go to the games at Beaver Stadium and find himself just wishing that he was out there on that field and wishing that he was doing things. And I never asked him, to be quite honest with you. When he walked in my office and I saw this physical specimen and I knew what a great athlete was, I wasn't going to suggest him playing anyplace else. I mean, he wanted to come to Monmouth, he's coming to Monmouth.
Now, you played him mostly on defense, and I saw a story in the Post today where you were kind of self-deprecating. That's how much coaches know. Did he want to play defense, or did he want to play offense?
No, he came here to be a receiver, and he was a receiver. He plays the first game of that season, 2010. He's playing receiver. As a matter of fact, his first reception ever went for a 17-yard touchdown against Colgate in the opening game of that season. And through the first 3 games, he plays receiver. And then as we were going into the 4th game, we had a lot of injuries in the defensive secondary. And to the point where, as we looked around our roster, it was like, who are we going to put there to play? And as we were looking around, all of our eyes were fixated on Chris Hogan. And I knew it was one of those touchy things, and I went up to Chris and I said, what would you think about playing defense? We'll still play you on offense, but you're going to play some defense. What do you think about that? And he said, Coach, I'll do whatever you want me to do. And so he practiced a Wednesday and a Thursday, and then starts in the game that Saturday, and it was against Duquesne. And they knew there was a new guy on the field. In the very first, I think it was the first play, certainly in the first series, they went after him. They tried to go up on top. Chris intercepts a pass. Later on in the first half, he intercepts a second pass and returns it 30 yards. From that point on, we played him. He played about 70 plays on defense a game, and probably 20 to 25 plays on offense a game. And probably the thing that we didn't do correctly, to be honest with you, is throw him the ball more.
Right.
We should have thrown him the ball more because he had great talent, great skills. I think he ended up with 12 catches, 3 touchdowns, but had 3 interceptions on the other side of the ledger. So he was one of those guys that could do just about anything you asked of him.
We're talking with Kevin Callahan, head football coach at Monmouth. He had Chris Hogan there in 2010. Couple of questions before we let you go. Number one, have you spoken to him since Sunday?
Through text.
Okay.
I haven't spoken to him directly, voiced. I'm probably one of about 10,000 texts he received, but just text him to offer my congratulations, let him know how proud and happy we were for him.
Are you going to try to go to the game?
I would love to go to the game.
And finally, what does this mean for your program to be able to say a guy who really was one of the MVPs of the AFC Championship game played here?
Well, I think what it says is it's a little bit of a testimony, and it demonstrates the level of football that we're playing at Monmouth. We've had probably 8 or 9 guys who've made it to the NFL, no one who's made it to the Super Bowl, so it's a first for us in that regard. But I think it's made people stand up and take notice about Monmouth University and Monmouth football, and we're happy he's a Monmouth product.
Very cool, Kevin. That's a great story. Congratulations to you and your program, and thanks for taking some time for us.
Thanks, guys. Much appreciated.